what is the single most valuable activity for bringing people together? In all of my experiences in cross-cultural communications, whether working and living abroad or interacting with various cultures here in the United States, which I'm lucky enough to do on a regular basis, there is one thing that I see consistently bridge the cultural divide better than anything else. Do you know what it is? Well, let me share with you an excerpt from one of my favorite texts, Dinner with Churchill. This is actually from page 10. And Churchill says, in regards to the emerging tension that existed between the Soviet Union and some of the other allies during World War II, says, if only I could dine with Stalin once a week, there would be no trouble at all. So what am I talking about? Sitting down and sharing a meal, breaking bread, so to speak. I'm not talking about a transactional, quick break kind of experience, but one that's a little bit more transformational. One in which you can savor not just the food, but also the environment and the company. And in that vein, I want to share with you some things that allow you to do just that. Some are a little bit more basic, some are a little bit more philosophical, but we're going to span the entire dinner experience from the beginning through all the way to sitting down and finishing up. Okay, so the first thing, be sure that you cook with pans, especially if you're doing this from home. Cook with pans that are not going to leach into or contaminate the ingredients. What am I talking about? So be sure to use pans that don't have a non-stick kind of coating, and I would try to stick with stainless steel, so 1810 or 1808 stainless steel, or, you know, my personal favorite, featured it in other videos, good old cast iron, right? The only time I don't use cast iron is if I'm cooking like an acid-based kind of dish, because that can really wreak some havoc on your patina. Second of all, and use that thumbnail as a good reference point, you want to strike for the right balance in lighting. You don't want to feel like you're eating under industrial white lights, right? Because that transforms that collaborative, kind of culminating, relaxing environment into a volley of exchanges and interrogatories even. Okay? And I think a good barometer for that is light a candle, as you see in the thumbnail. And if that light can be visible enough such that it emits some light, it's not the only source of light, because that might be kind of hard to see your food, especially if you're eating with people you're not really familiar with. But just enough, and I think that that creates that right environment for truly enjoying and nourishing that atmosphere. Okay. Third of all, I think it's important to offer up a little something, whether it's a spiritual offering or whether it's just acknowledging the company around you. I had the wonderful experience of spending quite a bit of time at Window Rock out in Arizona at the Navajo Nation with Navajo Native Americans. And I'll never forget how much they emphasized giving back to the earth. In fact, I remember periodically we'd take a drink of something and they would actually pour a little bit right on the ground before they drank it themselves. I think that's wonderful. Or if you're eating with folks who are Latino, maybe you could say buen provecho. Italians, buon appetito. French, of course, bon appetit. I think we know that because we use that in American English. A German phrase that I picked up along the way was Essen ist ein Bedürfnis, genießen ist eine Kunst. To eat is a necessity, to enjoy is an art. Or the Japanese, itadakimasu, right? Kind of just acknowledging the food and the person who prepared it. I think that's important. My personal favorite, and something that I just stand by as kind of the culture in which I grew up, is I say the Latin grace before every meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And I can actually include a little link to that in the comment section below. Okay. Something really simple, but often forgotten, and again, take a look at that thumbnail, is your flatware. Try to stick with stainless steel flatware, yet again, something inert, okay? And be sure to really be ambidextrous when you're eating. Incorporate the left and the right hand, okay? And you're really able to kind of manipulate the food that way. So this is the way I hold them. Maybe you could flip them around, but be sure to be using both hands and really just be hands-on in that dinner experience. Additionally, if you're having something to drink, maybe a glass of wine, don't forget that it's called stemware for a reason. You want to grab it by the stem. You don't always want to be grabbing it from here because that can actually change and alter the flavor of the wine. And then last but not least, I think a good perspective to have. Again, this comes from the Japanese culture, and I love this. A really good friend of mine is from Japan, and he used to always tell me about the concept of hare hachi bume. And loosely translated, that means you eat until you're about 80% full, or until you're no longer hungry, as opposed to our American conception of what do? We generally eat until we are what? Oh, I'm full, thank you, I don't need any more. Or, even more, I'm stuffed. Just think of the implications of that. I have eaten until I'm absolutely, completely full. I cannot eat anymore. It's not healthy, and it's not exactly savory for you, okay? I think back to those all-you-can-eat pancake breakfasts. I used to love them. But, after your 24th pancake, what's the last thing you want to see or eat? Another pancake. Okay, again, hare hachi bume. And we're at the end of our D words. This is our last installment, being dinner. And I do want to acknowledge, of course, I have the wonderful painting that was gifted to me, but I added, just for this installment, this is a painting that a friend of mine did. He was working in collaboration with the BBC. He's actually from Britain, from England. He's an artist. And we used to go to this restaurant when I did a qualitative research project in the Middle East. And he actually painted me a scene during my birthday. We all went out. It was kind of a birthday celebration in the summer. And I'll never forget that. And you can actually find this painting online. I just found it before I started this video. But I always remember that because that got me through an otherwise rather tense 9 weeks. So again, food and creating that kind of experience that allows you to not only savor the taste, but also savor the environment.